One of the great parts of this gig is I've gotten to meet some really great people. One of them is somebody who's kind of is really become kind of, I'm just amazed that of the work that he has done and the extraordinary assholes he's had. I can yell about the assholes. He's actually had to deal with the assholes. He just retired recently. I was there for his retirement and was the MC. It was for the Americans United for the Separation of Church and State, and a tremendous organization. And he is an ordained minister, which I still don't believe, but that's what he tells me. And he's a very, very funny man. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage my friend Barry Lynn.
Thank you very much, and it was a great honor to have Louis MC my retirement event. What he didn't mention is that 3 weeks later, I had a cardiac incident which led to 4 operations, a near-death experience, and a complete inability to speak. I'm getting over that. And I don't blame him personally, but I think it had something to do with a line he used that night about a monkey shitting in his pajamas. Now, I'm retired. I have an opportunity to be ticked off about more things than usual. This is what happened last night. What I'm about to read to you was dictated to me verbatim in a dream from someone named Laurel Nadyani. You know what that means. You know what that means. I've always worked in an organization. I worked at the ACLU before Americans United. I always, thank you, and but I felt a little inhibited because I had to be decorous. I had to not be spontaneous. I had to think about what I was saying. Now I'm attached to no organization whatsoever, which allows me to be totally unhinged. That's why I'm really glad Louis had me here tonight. I really despise the religious right, because I have dealt with all of them. Now, here's why I don't like them. This was dictated to me. I don't like the fact that their members reject the evidence of science. That's one of the reasons there are 2 weird Christian destination sites in Kentucky alone. One was referred to before, Ark Encounter. That's the water park that has a life-size replica of Noah's Ark. And you can see humans and dinosaurs together in that replica of the Ark. Now, they're baby dinosaurs because somebody who built it must have seen at least one of the Jurassic Park movies and knows you cannot fit one, much less a pair, of T-Rexes in a boat that's only 45 feet tall. Christian conservatives go to the movies. It's not like they sit around watching Charlton Heston in endless reruns of the 10 Commandments. And that's okay, but I just hope that John Bolton doesn't one of these days suggest to the president that he watch Black Panther. Because if he did that, then I have a feeling the next day, Bolton would walk into the White House and say, Mr. President, couldn't we just invade Wakanda and seize the vibranium? Now, there's another fundamentalist site down there, the Creation Museum. That's the place where your kids are supposed to learn the Earth is only 6,000 years old. It became somewhat controversial when it was uncovered that the gentleman playing the role of Adam in the introductory video to the museum, in fact, was a gay porn actor. No. That's funny. That's funny, and I kind of schadenfreude away, but this is the question I have. If you're the guy who discovers this, how do you go to the curator of the museum and say, I know who this guy is? And the reason, I want to clarify, watching porn is still a sin. it's sleeping with actresses in porn that's not necessarily a sin. I'm so sick of politicians who are constantly trying to bring public prayer back into public spaces. Sneak it in. Just 2 weeks ago, instead of being here, you might have been at the National Day of Prayer. National Day of Prayer is congressionally mandated. It's Trump-inspired. Trump approved it. What? If you decide you wanted to pray, don't you think you would have figured it out before the government told you? In fact, I've never understood what this is about. Are you supposed to pray harder, longer, louder, more frequently that day? Or in this atmosphere, in English only? I don't know what you're supposed to do. But the president brought people into the Rose Garden to celebrate this. The president doesn't know anything about religion, let's face it. I was afraid that he would look at the rabbi and the Orthodox patriarch that were in the audience, both had very long beards, and say, "Oh, I've noticed ZZ Top is here." But see, he does know something about popular culture. He might know that band. I know he wants to cut every cent, literally every penny, out of the National Endowment for the Arts. But I'm told he has a deep love of art. In fact, he's a big fan of anything painted on black velvet that features unicorns, The Last Supper, or Elvis. By the way, speaking of prayer, there are always candidates who want to bring public school prayer back, mandatory prayer. After the Supreme Court ruled it couldn't do that, some years later they ruled that you also couldn't have students praying over the public address system before football games. And I found myself on ESPN one morning with Lindsey Graham. And Lindsey Graham said, "I think that spontaneously people at high school football games will start to say a prayer." And I said to him, "Look, if you want to tell people to thumb their nose at the Supreme Court, why don't you give them a cleverer idea, like maybe train parrots to recite the Lord's Prayer and then release them in over the stadium?" And he didn't look happy, but I don't think he liked me before that. I am ordained, in spite of what Stephen Colbert suggested once. I did not get my ordination from a pop-up ad on the internet. But a lot of people in the religious right, they really don't understand even what's in the Bible. Jesus condemns hypocrisy, for example, 12 times. He condemns abortion no times. He talks about gay people 0 times. He talks about welcoming the stranger 3 times. And he says, if you want to be listened to, pray in a closet, not out in the streets like the politicians do. Lewis was talking about Tennessee. He was talking about guns in Tennessee. I'm not making this up. People say, how can you even still be a Christian? And I'll admit that there are challenges. And one of them, Newfoundland, Pennsylvania, actually had 1 month ago a service that combined renewing your wedding vows with blessing your AR-15 assault rifles. That is true. That was a challenge. If I ever hear that that church is going to combine baptisms with demolition derby, then I'm going to have to rethink everything. Hey, it's a pleasure to be here. I want to thank you for listening to this. I'm not a professional at doing this. I just have a good time doing it. I want to thank you for laughing. I want to thank you for not heckling. I want to thank you basically for avoiding this becoming 5 minutes of an episode of that Showtime program, I'm dying up here. Thank you.